This is going to be a TradingView tutorial. So I'm just going to cover over some basics of using TradingView. You guys will see that pretty much of the technical analysis we send out is done on TradingView. It's the world's most popular charting platform. It has more than just crypto markets. It has, Forex, stock markets, anything you could want that's pretty much charted anywhere. The information is also available here on TradingView. Starting off, if you make an account, this is the kind of straightforward screen you'll see. So I'm just going to run through the different kind of areas, the sections of what you're looking at. So at the top left here, we've got the symbol search. So this is basically where you can search anything it is you want to trade. So if you want to trade gold, XUSD, you can go ahead, just hit gold, and it'll take you across to the chart there. That's an old chart we've got. Right now I'm going to go back to Bitcoin. Firstly, we've got the symbol search. So again, you can search any symbols there. Second of all, you've got the time frame. Here what I would recommend doing is favoriting your favorite time frames. These are basically the ones you use most commonly. So for us, it's the hourly, 4 hourly, daily, and weekly. This just means that rather than going in here every time and selecting your time frame, instead you're able just to quick switch across your key time frames. Next up, you've got the type of chart. Again, I don't really ever change this because I'm always looking at candlesticks. However, if you want to change to bars, whole candles, a line graph, anything you want, you can do that there. Next up, you've got compare. This is if you want to compare another chart on your current one. So you can overlay, for example, the SPX with Bitcoin. But again, because the Bitcoin price change has been so much more, it's going to look a bit odd. So I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you know what it is that you're comparing. Next up, we've got the indicators. I'm going to make a separate video about indicators on how to add more specific ones and in depth of each one. But for the most part, what we have here is you can just search up any indicator. So if I search moving average, you can see I've got it favorited. You just click on it, add it, and you'll be able to see that it's added a moving average to our chart just here. And again, any indicators which we mention or you see us use, we use the RSI quite often. Just same here, you can just click on it and it'll add it to your chart down there. Next up, financials, templates, and everything else here we're going to leave at the moment. These are kind of a bit more advanced. We're trying to just stick to the basics at the beginning. On the left hand side, you have your tools panel. So first of all, you have your cursor. So you can have your cursor in 4 different forms. Eraser is just going to, simple enough, if you want to delete a specific thing on your chart, you can just click on it and it'll delete it. Dot will just change your cursor to a dot. Arrow will then again make it an arrow, just as if you're on the PC. I usually just stick with cross. This also has the crosshairs, which you can see go all the way along to the price and all the way down to the date, just making it giving you a bit more information. Below that, we have what are some of the most common tools. Again, you can see the ones that I've got favorited are the ones that I tend to use the most. So we've got the trend line. So this is drawing a simple line from point A to point B. Next up, we have the arrow, which is the same as the trend line, except one side is going to have an arrow facing it basically. Info line, it will draw you a line, except it will show you the information for that line, the price change and date change. Extended line, this is if you want to draw to connect 2 points, but you want to see that continuation done for you. It'll continue right off to both ends of the screen. Next up, you've got the trend angle, which we don't really use. Horizontal line, this will draw the same as the extended line, except it'll be perfectly horizontal for the whole distance of the screen. Horizontal ray is if you select one certain area of your chart, it will basically draw a ray going to the end from that point, just showing you support from that point pretty much, or resistance. Cross line, again, that's just kind of going to show you what this crosshair has. It's going to draw a vertical and horizontal line. Parallel channel is another one which I tend to use. It's just going to draw you from point A to point B and allow you to show you the channel there. Again, that's a pretty brief overview, but here you have most of your lines which you're going to be drawing within there. Next up, you have the kind of spicier charting going on here. The only one which I really tend to use from here is either the fib channels or the fib retracement. Quite famously, you'll see us use a lot of fib retracements from point A to point B. That's where you can find it. Again, this isn't a video to go through what that is. You have a bunch of different other charting techniques available here as well. Again, the main one we use is the fib retracement. Next up, you have drawing tools. So this includes the brush, highlighter, rectangles, ellipses, paths, that kind of thing going on in here. Again, you can see the ones that we highlighted are the ones that we use the most. Next up, we have, these are annotations. So whether you want to add text to your chart, add a note, whatever it is, you can do that from this panel here. This, we don't really tend to use much. It's good if you're first charting. If you draw, for example, a support line and you might forget why you drew it, you can just leave a bit of text beside it just to annotate why it is that you've drawn that. Just coming back to it from future use, you'll be able to see what it is that you've been doing kind of simpler. These here are looking at more complex wave patterns. Again, not going to jump into this. The only one that you might want to use is head and shoulders. It allows you to draw a head and shoulders and show you if and where the connections should be. So you can see here that it showed me where the right shoulder should be complete, or where the neckline is. If I don't complete this, it's going to clearly show you that the head and shoulders is invalidated. Again, not going to jump into the rest of them. That's kind of brief overview. These here are for additional information based on price movement. So for example, if you're placing a long position, what you can do is you can click on where you entered, and what you'll be able to do from there is show the chart basically where it is that you've placed your stop loss, where is your take profit, and when you come back to your chart, you'll basically be able to kind of quickly see where it is within your trade you're at. So if you have this as your take profit up here, stop loss down there, then you come back to your chart and you're somewhere way up here, you know you're about 50% to your take profit. It's just another way of you seeing what you might see on Binance anyway, where you'll literally be able to see exactly how much it is in profit. This is more of a visual representation for you guys. Next up, you've got the same thing except a short position. It's just the same thing except in reverse. Forecast we don't tend to use. Date range, you can just select 2 points on the chart and it will show you the date range across, the number of bars across, depending on the time frame you're on. Date and price range, this will do the same thing as the price range and the date range. It will show you the date and price in a box format. Bars and pattern feed are basically a way you can draw on additional candles. Again, if you're looking, I don't know, to see a pattern play out, you can kind of draw this on just to see how it might take place. Projection and fixed range volume profile, we don't really use those either, not on TradingView anyway. You can mess around with those if you want. Here you just have a bunch of different drawings. Again, I don't really see any use for these very often unless you're showing a chart to someone and you want to have some additional information put on here. You can do that there. Here you've got the quick measure tool. So if you click on this here, you'll be able to measure both date and time very quickly. You'll be able to see the number of bars, the amount of time, the price change, the percentage change, and the volume within that kind of time there. If you click off of this, it'll disappear. Down here, we've got the magnet tool. This is quite helpful, especially if you're new to drawing. So for example, if we want to connect the top of this line here and draw a trend down the way, we may not have clicked the top of this candle perfectly. So what you can do is if you enable the magnet tool, it will automatically, you'll notice that as soon as I hover over here, it'll click down to that level there, and same as here for the end. Now I know that what I've done is I've connected the two tops exactly, and the magnet tool is quite useful for that. It can also get quite annoying if you're trying to just draw a more generic line, so you can just toggle it on and off. The stay in drawing mode, and what this means is that after you finish drawing a line, it's going to keep me in that tool. I'm not going to be able to exit it, whereas before if I draw one line, it's going to unselect the line tool. That's what that is. Lock view, this is just going to lock us in all the drawing tools, so just keep you in. You're not going to be able to draw outside of the line tool that you're in. Hide all the drawings. So you've got and hide indicators. So if I have a drawing here, I can just click this and it's going to hide it. It will also, if I choose to, it will hide the indicators and keep the drawings, or I can hide both, just like that. So again, that's a very quick view of the sidebar. The last thing we have here is the delete all drawings, and we can also remove all indicators as well. One other thing I will mention is getting a log view. So you'll notice a lot of the time when we are using TradingView, we'll be able to move the chart around or anything like that. That's because we've unselected the auto scale. What auto scale does is automatically fixes your scale along the top and bottom. So when you're moving, it will automatically rescale the sides. Whereas if I unselect auto view, you'll notice that when I'm moving now, I'm not able to get all of the information in view, whereas when I select autumn, it will automatically fit it. We also have log view, which is just changing your scales to a logarithmic view. You'll notice that best on the weekly. When you look here on the log scale, it jumps from 64 to 46k and not too big of a span. Whereas if I turn off the log view, it looks obviously much more dramatic because it's not a logarithmic scale anymore. I think that is it. So we've covered the top, covered the both sides. If you guys have any questions about how to use TradingView, we will have more in-depth tutorials coming in over the year, looking at specific, fib settings and things like that in later videos. This was just more of a straightforward video of how to understand the tabs at the top, tabs at the side, and log and all views. Hope this was helpful, and we'll see you in the next tutorial video.